They say I'm a star here. And I'm like, that's funny. Are you talking about the numbers on the cell phone? And the little symbol of the star. And then I go and buy something at the store for a little bit of drops of energy and drinks. And I'm like, oh, this is fun. It's actually helping me. Like, sometimes when I'm talking to people who live here, I'm like, oh, so, uh, we get to be comrades with each other. I'm like, it's radical, it's ridiculous, it's gorgeous, it's like these beautiful things that I wasn't really touching them. I was just like, the spirit is carrying me to go to the places that I've never been to. But it's just like, of course, I have the memory of being there. And I'm like, there's more people here, there. Yeah. The places when you're like, oh, I'm locked in, where am I going to go? And then you look at the cup with the drinks all lined up for you, and you're like, we're going to mix something. And it's going to make us feel like we are more united as a team together. It's my way of getting to know people when they're telling me be silent. And I'm like, we got to talk about what's going on. And then they're like, okay, so what's in your pocket? And you're really going that far to say that there's like this magical entity in my pocket? I'm not going to call you wrong. That's the part about it that I was really just trying to really make a message for you that would stand up and show you the truth. I was so sure about wherever I went was never going to be lost. I was so sure that when I went God's way, He would be a father who would actually talk to me. Not just leave me on reply, waiting for the rest of the internet to get to me. And I'm like, yeah, so I don't even like the passwords of when my dad set up his security at his house. And I'm like, that's somewhere that I lived. That's somewhere people are like, oh, you had a great time there. You had your cleaning duties and you had your expensive perfumes. And I'm like, this is just like, I don't want to admit that I had perfume. I'm still on that where I'm like, we're going through the naturals. And then they're like, okay, wait. I'm like, I don't want to hear wait from anybody. And then it's just like, yeah, so it's still moving. It's still motion. I'm like, I got this where I'm like, I would care about Mondays. And then I was just like, I'm going to be the stranger who hugs everybody and then tell you that I'm not a stranger, I'm your friend. And you're going to be like, yeah, I know this was spoken with passion. This was spoken with light. And I'm like, how can these lights be bright? Let's see. They came from the stars. The stars are people like you and me. I'm like, yeah, you want me to share this? It's so easy to share this. I'm just like, do you want a chocolate with me? Do you want a white chocolate? And then they're like, yeah, that sounds good. And then I'm like, okay, can I start saying things are yummy yet? Can I say that? And it's like, Justin is like one of my longest, oldest, bestest friends. I'm just like, okay, so I'm like, it's okay though, because on Social Security, I had my witness sign Justin, and he was just like, he's the guy who has the lizards. Okay, so it's like, okay, it's cool. You can talk about this. You want to say things were uncelebby? I'm just like, yeah, well, it was just something that I had to say. I had to like be like, okay, let's book an Airbnb. Let's like go to the bank and let's get like our like protections are like these things don't need to protect us, but they can. That's the sort of thing that I was going with. Where it's like you could drive, but you're in the back seat, and then when you find the parking spot, you can be the driver. It was just like we are so together with what we're doing. I'm like, you realize like I still want to be like this, but it's just like I moved 2,000 miles across the country. So I'm like, can we just say it was just 2 miles because I could still walk 2 miles? And then I'm like, this is just fun for us. It's entertaining for us because like the house that I was living at right before this is just like, it's a gorgeous house. I'm just like, oh, geez. Okay, so he lives there, uh, somewhere in this town. And I'm like, I getting the hat for it. I'm just like, this isn't a clothing item anymore, is it? This is just like, I was asking for a momentum. I was asking for like something to keep the memory and bring it to me from where I was before. And I was just like, you don't really have to worry about the past or the future. You just get the presents. You just get what price do you have for this that you can like still be the person who puts it in your bag after you pay. And then your work on what you're doing for paying is just like you have the papers to prove that you were a resident, so it's okay. I'm like, I'm sorry, I'm not really helping the homeless people that much. That's something that I'm trying to prove a little bit more and make it a little bit easier to really get the truth to that. So uh, my mom was starting a documentary when she went to heaven, and she was like, oh, so there's people of stuff of interest. And I'm like, yeah, we already knew you were like, I love you since you were born. And I'm like, it's okay. Like, I was still like a baby when I was 17, when I was getting engaged to be married, and I was graduating high school, and I was going to do my photo album of the Japanese travels that I had with so much adventure. That is just like, what is the adventure? The adventure is just like, have you ever? No, you've never. I'm like, that's where you go to find your refreshment and your happiness and your joy, is the places that we were like, okay, it's in the library, it's somewhere, we gotta find the right title, the right author, and then we gotta go and bring that book to the barcode scanner. And I'm like, these aren't getting things for the librarians to put them back. They're scanning things for us to discover what's in the universe for us.